What happens when you try to move a dead whale carcass off the beach using dynamite? You're about to find out. In my hand are some of the most wild ideas in history that turned out to be epic fails. It's your job to figure out how they failed. Ready?
Let's do it.
All right, John, are you familiar with whales?
Yeah.
What about the great state of Oregon?
Sure.
Okay, well, in 1970, the Oregon Highway Division had an idea to remove a beached whale using dynamite.
Highway?
I don't know why the Highway Division was involved. So the question I have for you is, what happened when they tried to blow it up? Was it A, they used too much dynamite, causing 8 tons of exploded whale blubber to cover the entire town of Florence, Oregon? B, the dynamite went off, revealing the whale was only sleeping, to which it swam away? Or C, the dynamite went off, and when the sand settled, the whale had vanished, but particles of whale were showing up in the drinking water in the nearby town for days.
Man, there's always one that I really want to be true, and it's C. I really want C to be true. Let's go with that.
Okay, so here's what happened. In 1970, a 45-foot deceased sperm whale washed up ashore in Florence, Oregon. Nobody could figure out how to move it. Like, how do you move a giant whale that's dead?
Dynamite.
Well, yeah, that's what the Oregon Highway Division decided, was to blow it up and then remove what pieces they could, find. Just make smaller chunks easier to cart away in wheelbarrows.
Sure.
They did it with over a half a ton of dynamite, though. Here's the problem. People showed up to watch. This was a big event. They set off the dynamite, and the nearby watchers started to be covered in now sand and whale blubber and flesh and every little bit of that whale that could be found, leaving still a giant whale carcass on the sand. It didn't even work very well.
What?
Well, turns out they could have done it with a lot less. About 3.8 kilograms of dynamite would have been sufficient, and they used 450 kilograms.
Oh my gosh.
So the aftermath made people's stomach a little woozy, but nothing seemed to get into the drinking water.
I guess that's good. That's a good turnout. But it's still a pretty big fail.
I don't know who thought that was a good idea, but if you run into a whale of a problem, don't call the Oregon Highway Division.
Whale fail. All right, let me set the scene. It's 1807, and Napoleon is the king of France. Now, Napoleon gets what Napoleon wants, and what Napoleon wanted was to hunt rabbits.
What else would an emperor hunt? Something big? No, you could get hurt.
Napoleon had the idea to have 3,000 rabbits released so that he could go and hunt them.
Couldn't he just hunt them where they're at and go, hunt?
I think if you're Napoleon, you want the hunting to be very easy and to make it look like you're really good at it. So, I don't know. So Danny, what happened on this failed hunting expedition of these cuddly cottontails? Was it A, Napoleon's soldiers deserted when he killed all 3,000 rabbits? B, the rabbits turned the tables, swarmed Napoleon, even climbed into his jacket, causing him to run for his life? Or C, he hunted all day and didn't kill a single rabbit?
I hope he spent so much money on all them rabbits and just didn't get a single one.
The great mighty warrior Napoleon couldn't even kill a rabbit. Yeah. To catch you up on your history, it's 1807 and Napoleon had just signed a treaty with Russia. Napoleon wanted to celebrate with his military buddies by going hunting.
Fair.
Problem is, there were no rabbits around. So Napoleon orders these 3,000 rabbits be released out into the forest so that he can go hunt them. The problem is, there were too many of them and they turned on the hunters and the hunters became the hunted.
What?
These bunnies swarmed Napoleon and his buddies, climbed into their coats, and just overtook them and caused them to run for their lives.
Run away! Run away! Run away! Are you kidding me?
This actually happened.
3,000 is way too many.
That's way too many bunnies.
I mean, you're Napoleon. You just fought a bunch of wars. You should be able to get a few 50 rabbits. That's pretty good odds. I'm just surprised that rabbits will turn on you.
I think you get anything in a large swarm and it's just not safe. And now we know that bunnies are included in that.
In Russia, rabbit hunt you. Every year, millions of people watch the Super Bowl, and as commercial directors that have made over 1,000 commercials, we generally tune in just for those. And we think it'd be a wild idea to live stream as we watch the big game with you. So join us, Super Bowl Sunday, right here. We'll bring the snacks. All right, John, around 1760, an inventor named John Joseph Merlin had the wild idea to impress his friends at a party by showing up with shoes that had wheels in the bottom of them. You might call them roller skates.
The 60s were wild, but I didn't know they were.
The 1760s.
Oh, the 1760s.
The
okay.
1760s,
Okay.
yeah. He invented them to impress people at a party. The question I have for you is, how did the debut go?
I'm guessing, based on this whole theme of the video, that it was a pretty big failure, but go ahead.
Did he A, take them off very quickly after realizing he couldn't skate, B, the roller skates were a big hit, but he ultimately lost control and crashed into a mirror, severely injuring himself.
Oh.
Or C, did someone else beat him to the punch and coincidentally showed up at the party with shoes with wheels on them?
Gosh, I want C to be true so bad, but I'm guessing B.
He was a Belgian inventor who mainly concentrated on musical instruments, and this was a masquerade ball. He decided it would be a great idea to wheel into the party playing the violin. So, that's what he did. He forgot to invent a braking system though, so as he wheels into the party, immediately, first thing, right through the door, crashes right into a full-length mirror, shatters it, and severely injures himself.
He was playing the violin the whole time.
He just couldn't stop. He may not have been the first person to invent the roller skates, but he was definitely the first person to, crash and burn.
Oh, that's beautiful. I love it. In the mid-1800s, there was a pioneering British surgeon who had the wild idea of trying the fastest leg amputation.
Whoa, that doesn't seem like a thing that needs to be done.
I don't know.
Precision.
All right, so Danny, tell me what happened in his amputation attempt. Was it A, the surgeon went so fast he inadvertently cut off 3 of his assistant's fingers? B, his hasty hacking was so shocking it caused a spectator to die of shock? C, he successfully amputated the leg in 2.5 minutes, but the patient died of gangrene. Or D, all of the above.
It's gotta be all the above, because nothing good can happen from trying to cut off somebody's leg quickly.
Nothing about this is good. Well, in the mid-1800s, Robert Liston was known as the fastest knife in the West. The West End. I guess that was maybe someplace over in Britain. I don't know. Well, of course, back then there was limited anesthesia and like germ theory and stuff, so they had to move pretty quickly when they did any kind of surgery. So that's where he came up with this idea of doing it very, very quickly.
Okay, so it wasn't just like he just, had something to prove. There was a purpose to being fast.
Yeah, so the day of the surgery rolls around, and back then, people would gather to watch these kinds of things, and especially because, he was making this big claim that he could do it really quickly, people wanted to see if it was true and maybe learn from him. Well, the spectators were there to witness something horribly, horribly wrong because he went so fast, he sliced off 3 of his assistant's fingers, and he's just hacking away trying to get this leg cut off. One of the spectators died of shock. Can you imagine just like seeing this, all this blood, all the speed of the cutting, and your heart stops.
You're cutting off the leg to save somebody's life, and then you kill another man?
Yep, not exactly ideal. He did get the leg cut off in 2.5 minutes, but the patient died too. So, all of the above.
I shouldn't be laughing at so many people dying.
Bonus fact, I'm not even gonna say fun fact, because the assistant who lost the 3 fingers also died of gangrene.
Oh no.
So, technically the amputation was a success, and it was fast, but unfortunately 3 people died.
There's a joke here, but I'm having a hard time putting my finger on it.
Okay.
All right, John, are you familiar with the Devil's Tower?
Is that the one from Close Encounters of the Third Kind?
I think so, yeah. It's quite a butte. Well, it actually is a butte, not just a beautiful, landmark.
All right.
In Wyoming.
Yep, I know the one.
Well, in 1941, a professional parachutist had the idea to jump out of an airplane and land on top of the Devil's Tower. So you need to determine, did he A, miss the Devil's Tower and land on top of the nearby neighboring Mount Rushmore? Did he B, land on the tower, then slip and fall to his death while waiting to be recovered? Or did he C, successfully land on the Devil's Tower but was stranded atop the butte for 6 days because no one could figure out how to get him down?
Oh. It's definitely not A because Mount Rushmore is not in that area. It's in like South Dakota. I think it's C.
Well, it was the fall of 1941, October. George Hopkins wanted to prove his skill, thought he was a hotshot parachutist and could hit a small target. The plan was to land on an acre-sized summit on top of the Devil's Tower and then rappel down using a rope. The problem was that the plane that was supposed to drop the rope after he landed on it missed, was unable to get it. So even though he landed on the Devil's Tower, he had no rope to get down. And now the National Park Service had to figure out how to keep him alive while they figured out how to get him down.
I'm imagining them like airdropping little brown paper bags of lunch to him.
Pretty much, yeah. For days, the National Park Service was just dropping food and supplies down to keep him alive while they figured it out. They were going through all kinds of ideas how to get him down. They tried blimps, helicopters. Helicopters in 1941 weren't great, so that wasn't really a great idea. Ultimately, what they decided to do was get a bunch of climbers to just climb up and get him.
Okay.
And it worked out. So, he was stuck, but, only for a few days.
Couldn't he have just brought another parachute and then jumped off that?
I don't think base jumping was around in 1941.
Well, he could have been the first. Could have been the last.
Ooh, dark. Want my mug? Check out the merch store below. Introducing the Fly and Drive Car Drone by Sharper Image. While you may be used to RC toys that stick to the ground, the car drone lets you drive and fly with a single easy-to-use controller. And when you're ready, land it safely with its auto land feature. Roads? Where you're going, you don't need roads. Buy the Fly and Drive Car Drone by Sharper Image.